In a previous video, I showed you how to use party cups to grow stockier, stronger tomato plants. I also showed you how to water these plants more effectively using the double cupping method, all the while avoiding the time-consuming process of potting up. I had so much positive feedback to that video, and so many suggestions to make double cupping even better, that I just had to do a follow-up video incorporating these suggestions. If you hang with me to the end, I will also respond to the negative comments that I received. Hello, this is Stephen from Short Season Garden, and I offer tips and tricks for gardening in any climate, but especially for short seasons like here in Zone 3 in Eastern Canada. So give my video a thumbs up and a comment, subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell, and you can check me out on Instagram or Facebook at Short Season Garden. As mentioned in the intro, the double cup method of planting and watering typically uses party cups, which are easily washed out and reused multiple times. Some have shown concern about the unnecessary use of plastic, and to be honest, my initial party cups were not something I picked up secondhand from a party, but were purchased at the store. The plastic cups shown in this video are on at least their second use, and at the end of the season are still in good shape for a third season. I also decided to try recycling a few non-plastic drinking cups as well. The first thing we had to do with each top cup was to make some holes in the bottom. You can accomplish this with a good-sized drill bit. I used a 1/4-inch bit. If you aren't comfortable using a drill, you can heat a screwdriver or nail with a torch or a soldering iron, or you can carefully cut holes with a sharp knife. These holes serve both for drainage and for wicking water up into the cup. To facilitate the wicking process, I took some worn-out floating row cover and cut it into short, narrow strips. With a nail, I forced a strip through one of the drainage holes and worked it up so that it was sticking up into the soil compartment and also hanging down below. Since most peat-based starter mix is extremely hydrophobic, it is very important to thoroughly pre-moisten the mixture before adding it to the cups. If your starter mix has been around for a while, you may want to boil your water to kill off any nasty bugs. Holding the wick to one side, I added about 2 inches of starter mix to each upper cup. Now it's time to add 1 or 2 seeds to each cup. You will later make sure that only 1 seedling is left to grow in each cup. I lightly cover the seeds with vermiculite to help prevent damping off. Since it's difficult to find a humidity dome to fit over the cups, I cover them with shrink wrap to hold the moisture in place and then wait for the seeds to germinate. If the planting medium has been thoroughly moistened, there will be no need for the second cup until after the seeds have germinated. Once the seeds have germinated, I put water in a second cup and place it underneath with the wick down in the water. In my previous double cupping video, I watered my seedlings by placing water in a second party cup, allowing it to seep up into the top cup, then dumping the excess and placing a pebble or two between to allow room for drainage. I could have eliminated the pebble by using party cups of different shapes, placing a square bottom in a round, or vice versa. After realizing that my favorite local cafe was disposing of many see-through drinking cups, I began collecting and washing these cups to replace the bottom cups. The combination of the wick and the see-through cups means that the plants are never over or under watered. When the bottom cup gets nearly empty, I add enough water to almost fill the space between the 2 cups, always leaving room for drainage. As the seedlings grow, I carefully add potting mix around the stem, thus eliminating the need for potting up. Tomatoes are one of the few plants that don't mind having the stems buried, but actually develop adventitious roots along the buried stem. I find that this makes stronger, stockier plants. In order to do a comparison, I planted 8 party cups with the same variety of tomato, Big Brandy, one of my favorite heirloom varieties. I put 4 in my self-wicking double cupping system. The other 4 were left without wicks and placed in a tray. These I watered from the bottom, letting them stand in water for a few minutes, and then pouring off the excess. This is a standard method of watering and it works, but I find it is tricky to avoid overwatering and underwatering. More than once I found that I was letting the plants get too dry between waterings. The inconsistent water supply stresses the plant, and the dried out potting mix has a harder time uptaking water. Then if you overwater and forget to drain the tray, the plants can drown. The 2-cup system with the wick and the clear cup proves to be a much more efficient method of watering. You never have to worry about overwatering or underwatering. The top cup never has to sit in water. The water just wicks up into the cup as necessary. When you see that the bottom cup is empty, just add more water. Admittedly, despite the many advantages of this system of planting and watering tomato plants, it has its critics. Some don't like the burying of the lower stem, stating that the adventitious roots formed along the tomato plant stem are not as good at uptaking nutrients as are the original roots. If you have grow lights that can be raised high enough to accommodate the ever-growing seedlings until transplant time, or can move them to an outdoor space or greenhouse, you may be able to grow stocky, healthy plants without burying the stem at all. From past experience with my lighting system, even when using the potting up method, I have always had better luck placing the growing seedling in the bottom of its new container and bringing soil up around the stem. One legitimate drawback to using double cups, particularly the taller non-plastic fast food cups, is that they can get top heavy and must be handled with care to prevent toppling. The other downside of this method is the large footprint the cups take right from the start, and the time it takes to water each individual cup. Commercial tomato growers and breeders who start hundreds of plants in plug trays have rightly pointed out that the double cupping method is not easily scalable. I do have to admit that in my side-by-side comparison with the 8 Big Brandy tomato plants, there was no noticeable difference in size between the plants at transplant time. Still, for the average home gardener, who is only growing 2 or 3 dozen plants and doesn't want to be constantly worrying about consistent watering, double cupping can't be beat. I like the self-wicking concept so well that I have used it both outdoors and in my hoop house to water both my tomatoes and peppers. When I transplant my tomatoes and peppers, I like to leave the cups beside them to easily identify the variety planted. The non-plastic cups by this time are getting quite soggy, but the party cups are like new and ready for another season of double cupping. As usual, please leave your comments. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and be sure to check out some of my other videos.